Okay, this is a meeting of the Milford Finance Committee. It's Wednesday, January 14th. First item on the agenda is approval of the prior minutes, which have been circulated. Motion by David to approve the minutes, seconded by Al. Roll call. David?
Yes.
Bill? Yes. Lauren?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Grant?
Yes.
Mike Nicholson? You're mute, but I saw you said yes.
Yes.
Carly?
Yes.
Okay, minutes approved unanimously. Number 2 on the list, invitation to speak. None. Okay. Third, bus service.
Thank you.
Sure. How's everybody doing?
Good evening. For the benefit of Leanne, you are?
Brian Long, Chair of the Milford Public Transportation Committee. I'm here with our Finance Director, Zach. I think you guys all know him pretty well. All right, so my understanding is you want to discuss the bus service. I could sit here and wax poetic about it regarding ridership and the service itself, but I'm sure your questions are probably much more financially related, which I cannot speak to. That's why Zach is here. So I'm not sure how you want to start this, but
Well, I'll start preliminarily on the ridership numbers. It appears, based on the 2025 numbers, that we're trending back up toward the highs, if not above the highs that we were in 2019.
oh, correct, yes, yeah. This 2025, we ended up averaging over 2,000 riders per month for, I believe, the first time in our service history. We were building up prior to the pandemic. The pandemic hit, it obviously knocked things down, and it's really grown back quite well and is still trending high.
So, Zach, explain the economics of this to me. So 2,000 months, we have 24,000 rides. Does the rider get charged anything?
There's a fee. You want to speak to this?
Yeah, actually, right now, I think there's a grant that the MWRTA is utilizing that is actually providing free fare to riders.
Okay, so we can get to the government funding in a second. But okay, so there's no funding from the riders. So,
Generally, there would be.
Generally,
Yeah.
that's temporarily.
Yeah.
Generally, there is, and I think where you're driving at, if I may. Right?
you,
Okay.
please.
So.
I'll let you know if it's where I'm driving.
Yeah, okay. So this is all funded through the cherry sheet, and it shows up as an assessment on the cherry sheet under what's called C3 Regional Transit. So how we get charged is all these different communities that are participating in this regional transit, they're collecting fare, there's grant eligibility, or whatever other type of fees may occur, that all gets pooled into one bucket, and then it gets dropped off the total cost of all the different communities. Then proportionately, the remaining difference gets charged through the cherry sheet. Now, for example, since 2021 to 2026, we're teetering right around $100,000. Certain years, give or take $10,000 to $20,000.
So what is that $100,000? That represents?
Cost of the entire program. The cost, the difference between what it costs to run the program less total collection of fees, grants, and whatever other revenue across the whole state, not just Milford.
Okay, do we have it broken down for Milford?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so I'm just trying to understand, what do we take in, and then what is our cost, or what's our net?
I don't have, all right, now I understand what you're asking.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand the economics.
Because it's put together that way, I do not have a breakdown. that way.
Okay.
I only have the net cost to the community, to Milford,
Okay, and so what is that for the most recent year you have?
$104,000.
104,000. So in other words, hypothetically, if we got 50 in grants, we would have expended 150 to operate the
Yes.
program.
Yes.
And 104 would be the net cost.
Yes.
Okay. So that effectively comes out to what, $4 a ride? Does that sound right? If you're running a little over 2,000 people? I think that's about right.
Yes, about 4.
The rides in 2024 was 81,000. So you're just talking a little over $1.
Oh, so
$1 a
I thought I
ride.
heard 2,000 a month.
No, the average. The average per month for 2025 was 2,202, if I did my
That's-
math right.
2,000,
But that's-
24,000 for the year.
24,000 for the year. And so you spent $104,000. You spend 100,000 and you have 25,000 rides, 100 divided by 25 is 4. What am I missing?
So, I'm not sure exactly what those numbers are. For 2024, there was 81,000 rides. For 2023, there was 51,000.
Okay, so let's stop there. So something's
I
not
think
right.
rides are
So
different.
this is total rides
than
for the
total
year.
rides.
Rides is just a loops, right? That they're going around the loops? It doesn't, it's not the people.
It's not the people.
Is it people?
No, I thought rides where you get on the bus, you get off the bus, that's a ride.
Correct.
No matter where you go on the loop.
I'm not sure what data he's looking at. I can't speak to that. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, this is right off of the,
So hold on. What
The numbers that you're-
what Brian circulated shows about 2,000 a month, and this is passengers. So that would mean 24,000 passengers a year. Now, how are we defining a passenger? That's somebody who
So
gets
I
on.
think the difference is rides, one passenger could take 5 rides.
Right.
That's the difference.
You're
between-
keeping track, so if I ride it 4 times in a month, this is only counting it as one passenger?
This is what it's provided to me directly from the MWRTA. So my understanding is, hold on. Where'd you pull this from again, sir?
it's off of the state site. Here's the other piece of it that ties in with the,
Yeah,
The
With the
state
money-
site or the MWRTA site?
I'm not exactly.
yeah, and that ties in with the money that we got. But that's the difference
We get
between
10 cents.
riders and
Oh,
rides.
I see what you mean.
We did.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
goes back to our other thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
10 cents a
Yes.
ride, so
Yes.
$8,100, so that's
Now I'm confused.
1,000.
I'm confused too. Go ahead, Al.
If I get on the bus, do they ask for an ID?
Because you're distinguishing a human being from the number of
How do they
rides.
know if I get on the bus twice today, once today? Because they'd have to know who I am if it's riders. If it's rides, I thought it was, I got on the bus, check. If I got on later on coming home,
That's what we're saying this 81,000 is.
Right.
okay, that makes more
So I'm
sense.
sorry, say
So
that.
I don't know
Same
who
person
would-
could
yeah.
take 4
Yeah.
rides. I could
Yeah.
get on in Town Hall, go point A, get off, get back on.
And Rick, that makes more sense because if you say you're monitoring riders, well then how,
Numbers, just.
you asking for IDs, who's recording
Charlie
it?
card. You say IDs, but like a Charlie card.
Yeah, something that can be tracked.
Yeah.
So the counting the number of times a person gets on and off for the loop, is that what we're talking about?
I
From the
believe
beginning
so,
to the end?
because I could get on at one spot, that's one ride.
Yeah,
Get
we-
off, get on again, that's 2 rides.
Yeah, when you think about a transit service like this, you're generally starting in one point, finishing at going to a destination, and then you have to come back. So one person is riding that
Twice.
bus or train or whatnot, technically twice in a day or over the course of a couple days. So you have one person using it twice. That's the general way that
And how
works.
would they know that that person was using it twice? Like, I understand you could go from point A to point B, and then the person gets back on from B to C, but how do you know that's the same person versus a different person?
I mean, if they're using a Charlie card, the Charlie card is probably registered under their name. If they're paying cash, that's a different story.
Yeah, but it's free, you said.
It's-
How do you pay cash for
As I
free?
understand it right now, it would be free, so it's probably the Charlie card.
So
When I first started,
everybody,
there was a fee. Adult
Right.
had a fee.
Yeah.
Yeah. $1.25 or
Certain
something along
age
those
had a
lines.
fee.
so if I want to ride the
Citizens
bus,
had a fee.
I don't have a Charlie card. I pay $1, but it's free.
No, they're probably just gonna let you on.
Right.
Yeah.
Stand up there and get on.
So the bus driver is usually ticking you.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
Yeah.
The 80,000 makes more sense if you're just saying 2 humans got on the bus, click, click. They got off the bus, who cares? They got back on the bus, someplace, click, click.
Okay.
So it's anywhere between $1.50 and $4.
Yeah, no, it's not bad.
Let's be honest. I think when it first started, it was $3 and $1.
I mean, okay.
Sure.
Sure, let's use those numbers.
Yeah, the first charges were like $4 a ride.
Yeah,
Because we had,
$4 for an adult and a child.
well, I mean, what it cost us.
Oh,
You're saying the net to us, Zach, is $100,000 a year.
Yes.
No matter whether it's cherry sheet, lemon,
Give or take, yes.
who cares?
Yes.
It's costing Milford $100,000.
Yes.
And then, I mean, this is much less consequence, but there was something about fee splitting, Zach, and some money that goes.
Yeah, so
somewhere?
that's actually the document he gave me that showed ridership at 81. We received 10 cents back, meant to go back into the program. So it's in the special revenue account. We're around $30,000 now. It needs to be used for improvements along the bus route.
Right.
I know the committee has spoken about benches and shelters maybe.
Shelters.
We have not expended any, hence having like 30 grand right now. But that's what that is.
Okay.
Small amount comes back, meant to enhance the route.
Right.
Only can be used to enhance the route.
It's based off Paul's number that he just had, the 81,000.
Yes, yep.
81,000 translates to
Yep.
$8,100.
Yes, yep. Exactly right.
Listen,
Yes, Mike.
I'd like to know if that 30,000 is in a revolving account under control of the Transportation Committee, and if it is, do they have plans to expend any of that money that's been sitting there?
Yes, it's in a special revenue fund, effectively a revolving account, yes. They have not spent any, but they do have plans to. I know we spoke, you could tell them a little bit about the holdup if you want.
Yeah, so right now, the MWRTA is looking at adjusting the route. So currently, the bus route goes essentially in a circle around town. So X amount of loops per day, one circle. That's not an efficient way to get people going back to the point A to point B, back to point A situation. They are looking at making changes that probably are going to be implemented early in 2026. Once that occurs, we expect that we're going to take some benches as well as shelters that have been donated from the MWRTA and actually install them. Now, we have to figure out what that process is, highway department or whatnot, and then figure out the cost, but that's what we're intending to do, or ideally.
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Steve.
So, thank you for coming in and giving us information. The question I had was, I mean, did the growth grow organically, or is the town promoting the service? I was curious, like, I don't know if the town is really saying, this is a great service that we have, and is it on our website? I mean, how can somebody that just moves into town knows it's there?
Yeah, so we, as the committee early on, we did look at marketing techniques and where we could get it. We put it into, what was it, the Town Crier and the Milford Daily News. We put the schedules out there and back then and all that. We didn't know if we were getting the bang for the buck as it relates to that, but it is on the schedules are on the town website. There's links to the MWRTA website as well, so you can see the maps and the actual schedule. So all that is there. So if somebody was new to town and they went to the milfordmass.gov website, there's a quick link to those things there. Could we do better in terms of advertising it and putting it out there a little bit more? Well, yeah, of course. What those avenues are and how we go about that is certainly up for discussion. We obviously have a budget where we could do some of that with if we so chose to do so.
Yeah, these funds we're talking about, marketing and promotion are eligible.
Correct, yeah. So, but yes, there has been some level of advertisement that has been put out there to help grow this. I would say that the growth has probably been much more organic than anything else. Word of mouth, seeing the thing going around town, that type of stuff, I think is really what's driven.
We do have the routes at Town Hall to be handed
Yeah,
out.
there's a
Board up there.
yeah, board upstairs, yep.
So if you walk in, you can see it.
Do we hire the drivers and maintain the vehicles? Where are our costs?
Only the cherry sheet
Only the
hunting.
cherry sheet.
The MWRTA handles all of that.
So we just get an assessment and that's that?
Bus breaks down, they
Exactly.
send them home.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Demographics. When we first started voting on this, I remember seeing all the little faces in the windows that the Best Buddies program brought the kids down, saying this would be very, very helpful for special needs, that they could take it to get to their jobs, and it would be very helpful. Who rides the bus?
I don't keep any sort of demographic
No, but
information.
what's your gut feel? Is it the kids? Is it,
I don't have a gut feeling on that. All I know is when I see the bus drive around, I see people on the bus. I can't see who they are. I don't have any demographic information. I know the high school with the, was doing test rides and things like that to help certain populations, be able to get around and utilize the service. But in terms of actual raw numbers or even gut feeling, I can't give you that information. I don't know.
My feeling is it's from young to old. I get to see one of the bus stops right from my window. And I see young people, I see older people. It is handicap accessible, so you can see people in a wheelchair, for example, that can ride the bus.
I mean, it doesn't.
We are very proud of the program, and it's something I think we want to continue.
Yeah, Rick, it doesn't matter. I'm just curious because all those little faces in the window asking for the bus service had an effect on me, and I'm just curious to see if
Anytime I've seen young kids, they've always been accompanied by an adult.
Yeah.
Not that I look out the window all day, but it's not every
I
hour.
was told I was.
There's always somebody being picked up, mainly adults. Sometimes you see kids, but they're always accompanied by an adult. Sometimes I see bike riders. They put their bike on the front of the van. And they get in the car wherever they're going. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they got a lift for, like Rick said, the wheelchair.
Yeah.
But it's constantly being used. And people are always waiting on the front steps for that van to come by.
Yeah, and I know they have there's technically an age cutoff in terms of when somebody's supposed to be accompanied by a parent, adult, whatnot, or when they can ride it on their own. I don't know how the drivers figure out if somebody's 15 versus 15 and a half or whatever, but I know that's something that they do.
Well, I know that we've got a need in town for some of the immigrant families where the parents have to go to work before the kids go to school. So there's no driver for the kids. So I'm curious to see if we're helping them out because the
Yeah.
bus runs all day.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, can I have one more question?
Yes.
Just where it goes, I don't know where it goes, but does it end up at one of the commuter rail stations?
Good question. So our bus in and of itself is only a loop in town, except for when it does its first drive-in, which comes from Framingham through Holliston, and obviously when it leaves and goes back to the hub in Framingham. We have, because of that, we have multiple connections that get you to commuter rail stations. So there's, number one, the Route 6 bus. We're Route 14. That's the Milford ride. The Route 6 bus is Framingham through Holliston and actually to Milford Crossing, which is the Stop and Shop Plaza, the new Stop and Shop Plaza. So that we have a connection there with our loop to that. There's also what they have, the 495 connector, which is new as of this year, which starts up in Acton, I think it is, and goes essentially down 85 down to Forge Park, with again a stop in Milford at the Milford Crossing. So we have multiple avenues for somebody to get on the Milford bus and then get out of town to one of 3, maybe even 4 commuter rail stations to get you east of Boston or even west of Worcester.
And do you know, once you get on a connector bus, does that become a charge to the Milford resident?
I'm not sure how that connection works, to be honest with you. If there's grants are paying for the fee anyways, then it really doesn't matter, but I don't know if it's considered a new swipe and another $1.25 or whatnot. I'm not exactly sure on that one. Yeah. So all I know is that the Route 6, while it does come into Milford, that's not considered a Milford route. That is the Holliston route or whatnot, so.
Any other questions on this?
Sorry.
Doesn't look like it. So, all right, well, thank you for coming in, Brian.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Zach, thank you. Appreciate the help.
Good job.
Okay, the next thing is an update from the finance director, and before we get into that, just one housekeeping matter. I'm told that there's going to be a special town meeting on February 9th to deal with a proposed eminent domain taking of a piece of property near the Milford Police Station. And there's a select board meeting coming up sometime in the next few days with regard to that. I'm going to suggest that we have our next meeting on the first Wednesday instead of the second Wednesday of February, so that we can address that proposed article as part of our regular monthly meeting. So that would be February 4 is what I'm anticipating will be our next meeting. Okay, Zach, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, awesome, thank you. So a couple things for you. I couldn't make the last session where I was going to go over, I know it's late now, but I'll make it brief. I was going to go over some of the major components of what developed free cash this past year, and I'll try to talk to how we should pay attention to that in the upcoming budget. Then I'm going to give you, which is what I just distributed now, I'm going to give you a mid-year update from some of the major financial areas in the town. And maybe in between that, I'm going to have Tom give a reminder of the budget process, specifically timeline, and what to expect over the next couple months. Fair enough? All right. So let me start off with last year's free cash. Last year, as a result of fiscal year '25, we had certified free cash of $6.4 million. We spent the majority of that free cash at the special town meeting, and right now we're just over $1 million. Little, if you remember, I thought that was a little bit low for where we wanted to be, but not devastating, and we may be happy that we saved that $1 million rolling in. So you're asking yourself, what made up $6 million? The majority of this makeup this particular year was from revenue being in excess of what we budgeted. I'm going to go through some of those avenues. So that was almost $4 million was from revenue. So I think the quick knee-jerk reaction when we see free cash is that we over-budgeted, like at the expenditure level. But in this case, and that can happen, you know, but in this particular case, it's really that we had a really good revenue year. I'm just going to rattle off some of the areas. Earnings was really good. Earnings, we came in $660,000 higher than what we had estimated.
Yeah.
Tax liens, interest, fees, and foreclosures, all related to real estate that wasn't paid and it moved through the proper lien process. At that time, we're disallowed from budgeting it, and we never do. And I think that's kind of been a recipe for success for us, because we actually make some pretty good money out of that. But that was about $500,000. Motor vehicle excise was continuing to do pretty well, $300,000 over what we budgeted. And then a real big one was building and permits, which was all the variety of permits, whether electrical, traditional building and whatnot. That was $525,000 higher. Last piece, which I know we spoke to, but as a reminder, we, with the Geriatric Authority, one of our local receipts called miscellaneous recurring is the money that we recoup from them for debt that we pay. It's our bonds, we pay the debt, we turn around, we build a geriatric. We all know what occurred since the pandemic, and we know that in 2024, we did not get paid for any of the debt. In 2025, things started to improve, and they honored both years. During 2025, because I did not receive any money in '24, I knew the DOR wasn't going to allow me to estimate for receiving money when we just didn't, nor would I want to because of the uncertainty there. So I didn't estimate it. Therefore, we got like a double down effect. When we received all funds for 2 years, I had zero estimate, all trickled in. So that's the largest component of why we had free cash at that level last year. Now, we definitely do have budget turnbacks, and last year was $1.7 million. May sound high, it's really not. I think that might be one of the lowest ones we've had in many, many years, which should be a little concerning, and I will speak to that when we talk the budget process, all right? Actually, you know what? I'll speak to it now while it's fresh. So one of the largest pieces, and you may remember this, Andy, when we first started meeting, you were on the finance subcommittee, and one of the things we talked about was maybe a dirty word, but like padding the health insurance budget a little bit. We did that purposely, one, because it's the most unpredictable budget that we possibly have, and two, if money falls down, we recycle it back in free cash. Again, kind of been a recipe for success, and that had been happening for many, many, many years till last year. So I think it's no secret that health insurance costs are out of control nationwide, but certainly for municipalities. So it's reassuring a little bit that we're not in this alone, but it continues to be probably the biggest risk that we face right now for a budget driver is health insurance. So last year, we estimated about $500,000 short on our budget, and we did not have to go back to the well, if you recall, because we've been setting up this OPEB, other post-employment benefits trust, and been contributing to it for about a decade now without ever touching it. So we were able to kind of react and pay for some retiree health insurance in order to meet the budget. But rolling into last year, we had that double down effect where we not only had to make up the $500,000, we had to continue to fund the ever-growing health insurance costs.
And people may recall, I think the OPEB fund was one of the 3 funds that we had Bartholomew talking about in December, and that account has a balance of somewhere around 10 or 11 million bucks, if I
That's
remember
correct,
correctly.
yep, I think we're at 12, I got it on here, we can speak to. Um, 13.6.
That's 13 out of 80, right?
What's that?
The exposure is like 80
Oh,
million.
yeah, it's huge, it's crazy,
I
yeah.
mean, 13 million sounds like a lot of money to put in perspective.
It is, and I've been quite vocal about how much I think it's ridiculous. I think it's a big crock, you know? It's just forcing us to be funding money into Bartholomew, let's face it, you know? And I think it's a big crock because we do the pay-as-you-go system. We budget for it. Now, again, fortunately, it kind of bailed us out last year a little bit, but absent that, all we're really doing is just sticking money into this investment account just to throw it on the balance sheet to say, hey, this offsets the 80. And by 80, I think it's like 120. You know?
So just one thought. So the pay-as-you-go works. The only reason you'd need the 13 million is if you thought the demographics were going to require a much bigger annual contribution in the future, right? That we might want to have that cushion for, I guess would be the
That and really just to look pretty for bonding purposes, you know? So our balance sheet probably looks better than a lot who don't even have, a lot, at this point you were required to set up a trust, you weren't required to fund it. And trust me when I tell you, a lot of cities and towns, they can't, never mind have, they can't. So really for us, it was that little bit of a safety net that did bail us out, but it's just kind of looking pretty on the balance
It
sheet.
made us politically look stronger.
Yeah.
David?
So that 80 to 120 million you mentioned, that's from the actuary, right?
Yeah, it's
Is it-
actuarial
is it-
number.
I think we should get that person in there, but that's is like if you needed to pay out everything.
Right now.
If the
Yeah.
world, right, the world is, well, you need it, right. So that's, I agree with you on that. It's
Yeah.
just an,
Present value of future benefits
it's a family
paid. It's
number.
all, yes, 100%. 100%. And the fact that we pay it each year, again, we got bailed out a little bit last year from our own making, which was good, but otherwise it's kind of crazy.
it's you know what your future liability is, but to go out all the way to the end is just a little aggressive.
Yes.
A little?
Go on, Zach.
Okay, thank you. So 1.7 million was a result of unencumbered turnbacks, if you will. And just to kind of highlight some of those, some of the bigger ticket items was unemployment. That's another one that's very hard to predict, so we didn't lay anybody off really. We turned back 170K. The veterans budget, which I know Jerry's on top of there, that was $110,000. Another one that's kind of unpredictable. You don't know exactly, but that's a decent turn back there. Library, 46,000, Parks Department, 64, all kind of routine. Waste collection, 100,000, highway, 100,000. Here's one that we should look at, and I know we did last year, but North Fork and Tri-County, 176,000. That's some kind of big numbers, so Mr. Farrell, you may want to take a peek at that one when you meet with the school this year. And then finally, police and fire both turned back $200,000. Not uncommon. When you have a large operation like that with 53, 54 employees, things occur. retirements.
Norfolk was a turnback. I thought we had like 4 extra kids there at 25 grand a year. Am I remembering that right?
Did, but we jacked the budget way up because I think the year prior to that, I think we had an anomaly year. All right. And then it kind of settled back down. Also, transportation was out of control, and it's kind of getting to it's not better, it's getting a little bit better, you know. But that's something that you should take a look at.
But to keep it in perspective, 1.7 million sounds like a huge number. But that's 1% of the budget.
Exactly. It's not a big number. Yeah.
I mean, it's a big number, but it could change overnight when you're talking 99% of what was budgeted was spent.
Exactly. That's in my world, that's pretty razor tight. You know. 2 other things just that made up that figure. We did, let's kind of put it in perspective for what I just talked about, having $1 million now. We did turn back or recycle, for lack of a better word, $845,000. We didn't spend of the previous year's free cash. Once 630 comes and goes, you have to have it recertified. So final piece, and we've spoken about this before, I try to do this either as an as-needed basis or like every 3rd year, just so that the balance doesn't build up too large. But last year I had asked the Board of Assessors to release $500,000 of overlay surplus. Kind of a way to look at it is allowance for doubtful accounts, but it's really like if someone has an assessed value dispute.
Abatements.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So we do like $800,000 a year, right directly out of the tax recap, and we don't use $800,000 a year. So as that balance builds up, I ask the assessors, hey, looks like you have this surplus, let's release some. So this past year, we did $500,000.
That's always been the slush.
Yeah, can be,
No, but it's always been our safety
yes.
in
Yes.
case snow and ice goes crazy or something.
Exactly. That is a funding source that you can appropriate from. We never do, because we haven't had to be like backed into a corner like that. I prefer to run it through free cash like this, but you can appropriate, just FYI.
Now, these fund balances, I'm looking at general fund and school articles, appropriate and unexpended capital project fund balances. Are those unexpended town meeting article funds, or is that something else?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yep. Want me to give a walkthrough? I was going to switch over now to the half year. All right, so that, unless there's any questions on free cash or,
Everybody good so far? Yep, okay.
all right, so 12/31/2025, halfway through fiscal 26 already, if you can believe it. It's pretty wild to me. But we just talked about, I'm just going to walk through these numbers. Please stop me if you want to talk about anything. But general fund free cash, we just said 6.4, but we have a balance of $1 million, which will be likely very beneficial when we come to May. We have the 2 enterprise funds, sewer and water. I wish Bobby DeVito was here because I put some homework on him too, so I'll just have to call him. But the sewer retained earnings is dipping, all right? We're under $1 million for the first time in a while. Now, we still do have some sewer enterprise fund stabilization, so you can kind of couple those together, but it's only 1.8 in the stabilization and 860,000 in retained earnings. That's not a crazy healthy balance, so I 100% expect, and they need to do a rate increase this year. They just have to. So you should see a rate increase with sewer.
What was the last year? Was it 9 years ago, 10 years
I think a
ago?
lot more than that. I don't think one has occurred since I've been here. And I think that's from really good management, but also we kind of was fortunate when we had that Hopkinton hookup, and they were quite wise to tuck that. I think that was the development of us having a sewer stabilization fund, and they've been pretty wise with that money. But like anything, costs go up, salary driven.
Real quick though, is this anything to have to do with timing of when the bills come out though? I mean,
No.
they're not on time?
No. Just they haven't had a rate increase in 15 years.
If you don't raise your prices for 10 years,
15
Yeah, no, I just didn't know.
15, it's going to catch up to you eventually.
So the issue we're actually dealing with is like, this is the second year in because of my clout, I was able to pull this off at the Department of Revenue, but we have a budget that's really not even meeting what the revenue should be. Now, we know we don't always expend that budget. In fact, we don't even come close really, but DOR doesn't care. They're just purely looking at it like, hey, you're gonna raise this and you can't even come up with that money. So that's why we've been, if you've noticed in the past few years, we've been tapping into retained earnings just to meet the budget or the enterprise fund. For sewer. So a little bit of a dangerous
Doesn't
game.
really make sense.
No, so I've met with John Magnani, the director there, and they know they have to look at that. Now, I'm not talking 15, I'm not talking 20, nothing like that. I'm just saying you need to start doing some increases here. So if that's their decision, we'll see. But wanted to put that note on there.
Where does utility connection fees go to? If we have a sewer connection fee for a new development, does it go, do you know where it goes? Does it go to the sewer department? It does, okay.
Yep, all revenue for sewer goes to sewer, all water goes to water. Yeah.
Trying to think of ways not to raise the increase, the rate increase.
Yeah. So likewise, water, they kind of been going the other way, which has been by plan. You recall, we're in front of town meeting, we're gonna buy this. If we're gonna buy this, we need to do a 5% increase each year in order to be prepared. Now, we also got quite lucky with having that ARPA money fall into our lap, but things have been going really to plan there. And you may recall, we even did $1.5 million into the newly set up water stabilization fund.
Stabilization.
Yeah.
Now, before I forget, has this been circulated?
Yes, I did. I sent it out to,
Oh, okay.
it was late, but I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So that looks pretty good there. They
Yeah,
both
I-
look. Sorry. You got a
I've got
question,
it.
Jerry?
You got it.
Go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead.
Good, thank you.
Go ahead, Zach.
All right, so continuing, just some notes that are important. Excess levy capacity, we did hit our target of 6 million, actually a little bit better, 6.2, so that was good. You have not tapped into your reserve fund. The full 125,000 is available, which is also good. It would be a little upsetting if we had to do that before halfway through the year, so that's good. Town stabilization balances, this is market value, mind you, but you had just heard that presentation, but just as a reminder, the long-term 37 million, shorter term 6.5 million, total of 43. That is a big number, but not in comparison to your meeting you just had prior to this with building a new school. So it's an appropriate number, let's say that. Just some informational stuff on here with state aid, the final figures. You can redo that yourself, the assessments. And then this is what I think you were alluding to a little bit, which is a little important. So I pop on here, at the end of each year, we do have an encumbrance process just because sometimes bills just can't meet the final warrant. So I encumbered for non-articles $411,000 out of the general budget for last year. I put this informationally on here because if anyone's really that interested to tie out the bottom portion to what we did with the budget, in order to tie it out, you need to have the encumbrances that we did.
Zach,
Yes.
is that mainly school?
Yes. Well, let's say 50-50. Half of it's school, half's the rest of the town. You know, but typically, most of it's school, yes.
What does that mean, non-article encumbrances? Is this
So
just-
our articles are on autopilot where I encumber them automatically till it's either depleted or town meeting closes it.
So what are these, though? What is
So-
a non-article encumbrance?
I'll make up an example. I bought on June 30th 15 widgets and the bill didn't come in until after my final warrant. I'm gonna say, hey, out of last year, I actually expended this. I'm gonna roll that portion of the budget into my next budget because it's spoken for.
Okay.
So it's
Right.
open purchase orders?
Yes, oh, better way of saying it, yes. It's open purchase orders, yeah. Yeah, a lot of times with the school, they may order like, and this happened during the pandemic like crazy. You order a whole mess load of laptops. Well, we had a complete delay where they couldn't manufacture them, so it's not just like a timing of bill, it could also be like stuff like
Yeah,
that.
but it could be normal that they order something that's a 60-day delivery.
Yeah,
Vehicles,
vehicles,
Cars, takes 2-3 months.
Yep.
Vans.
matter of fact, the water company encumbered that money in June, and they just took delivery on it.
yeah.
That's why I say I look at it as open purchase orders.
Yeah, what we do not do is we do not allow blanket rollover encumbrances. Hey, I don't want to lose $1,000. Can I encumber this? And where's your bill that showed you ordered it before June 30th? I don't. Then no. You know.
Makes sense.
And auditing looks at that,
Yeah.
for sure.
Couple other items. Let's talk about revenue, see where we're at. This year's overall general fund revenue budget was $164 million. Halfway through the year, we're at 76 million. Not quite half, but not bad either. And there are large components that trickle in like at the end of the year versus it's not uniform throughout the year. So I would say we're pretty on target there, which I'm pleased to say. Snow and ice balance. So it had been snowing, there had been a lot of ice. I'm kind of surprised that we still have $500,000 here. This is also as of 12/31. Did you
Yeah.
catch the balance? I think it was like what, two? Or is it now?
203.
203 right now. So will we hit deficit? Probably.
We've spent 60% of it right now.
$500,000
We
out
started with
of
what, 600?
600.
And we have 2 left?
Yes.
So we spent 400. What do we got, 10 inches of snow? That's 40 grand an inch.
Lot of
It used to be
supplies, though.
10 grand an inch.
A lot of supplies.
Lot of
though.
supplies.
Sand and salt is
Sand
sand
and
and
salt,
salt
yeah.
and contract labor is the
Yeah,
biggest expense.
Scott will tell you, and he's not wrong. Contracts, the snow plowing crews still continue to be very, very difficult to find for some reason, even though they get comped pretty good.
And Zach has told you in the past why we don't want to increase it, because then you got to keep it there, right?
Right.
Yeah, once you go up, you can't go back.
Right.
Yeah. These are what you were talking about, I believe. So general fund and school articles, appropriated and not expended. It's a pretty big balance, and I know you have that on your agenda for later, but $9.5 million as of 12/31. That's for non-capital projects. So capital project fund, I should say, all right? So capital project fund, I set up if it's gonna be typically big bucks, and there might be bonding involved, there might be grants involved, other revenue sources, and typically it would be longer than that 1-year project, so you have
So
to.
is this like Woodland or something
Yes.
like that?
Yep,
Okay.
exactly. Yep, Woodland still has a balance on there. And to this point, when you see $6.5 million in here, some of this stuff is a result of surplus bond proceeds, so I can't just close it out to the general fund. So there's a bunch of old projects, and sometimes, certainly along the way since I've been here, something lines up, we're like, hey, you know, we actually could use this to fund that. Kind of what we talked about earlier, right? So, but nonetheless, those are some decent sized balances. So again, collectively between the two, you're looking at like 16 million right now hanging out for capital projects. We talked about the OPEB liability trust at 13.6 mil. At one point, it was important to this committee to track the balance in school choice revolving, which school choice money coming in is so small that I left it on here, but that $284,000 is kind of where they teeter with the balance. Not much really comes in anymore, and therefore they can't spend much. But that money, as a reminder, goes to the school committee and can be used for any legal school purchase. Couple other things I want to note. ARPA, I'm actually very proud of this. I ran this whole program. It was a massive pain in the you-know-what, and there was rule changes. I was just telling Tom the other day, I can't even believe the day is here. Like, I remember looking at this, they gave us 6 years to spend it. It's pretty crazy. Everyone's gonna be retired by the time we get there. Where? We spent every single penny of it. Right down to the wire. I had to have a special warrant on 12/31 to make sure we spent it, but it was about $8.7 million we got from the Fed, and I'm proud of it because it was a lot of reporting requirements. There was a lot of ever-changing rules, but I think the thing I'm most proud of is we took that money and we used it for like infrastructure and one-time costs, and we used it really to get the water company up and lifted, and they are, so I think that was really great, as opposed to turning it into salaries and wages, and now we're caught with the bill. All right, so I'm very proud of myself on that one. And also, I put on here as well, the town park ever continuing project. The CDBG funding component of it is also finished. That was a lot of reporting. That was a huge pain as well. And we just got our final reimbursement from that too, so I'm super. I'm sorry?
That's great.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I'm very pleased with that.
Brownie, every May you go through old articles.
Yeah.
How current are we?
How current, well, there's some old articles, but some of the projects aren't completed yet, so you.
I guess what I worry about,
There's still some open from 20 and 21 that they still haven't fully expended.
It's the next agenda, yeah.
Oh.
And I've got some additional ones for you.
A lot of those are smaller balances. When I just report that large amount, I mean, you see in the last town meeting, a lot of that's like fresh, big amounts.
that's my-
Yeah.
Some of the ones in here that are under 10 grand are going to be closed out.
Yeah.
Because either purchased the vehicle and all the equipment's been put on it, so there are some under 10 grand, of course, there's
but
penny ones,
overall,
too.
we're current.
Overall, yeah, but
Current
again.
enough.
The
Yeah.
ones that are still ongoing, I don't count.
That's right. Okay.
But the ones that we haven't touched in a year because the project's been over, are we all caught up on
We
those?
somewhat give like a grace where we ask the department, I'm just gonna close it without asking,
Right.
right? So we ask the department, not gonna hang on to it, why? Right, so if we get an adequate answer, we will. If it's not, we'll
Well, in the
push.
old days, they had-
Certainly if a year goes by and it's still there, you
They hung
get
on
close.
to it so they could use it for something else, but we changed
I
that.
don't let that happen.
We changed that years ago to say if it was allocated or approved for a widget, you got to use it only for a widget. You can't,
Well, that's legally, too, so.
Legally, yeah.
Absolutely. We watch that, and we've caught a few.
Yeah, we
We've
have.
caught a few.
We have.
Recently, too, so it's all good. We monitor that.
Quick notes on the budget on the bottom here. You see the numbers, just take your eyes to the far side. This, quick note, this is the operational budget plus the encumbrances I spoke about, plus anything that supplemented the budget at this last town meeting. That's not an article, mind you. That's not a capital article, mind you. So at this perfect example would be at this last town meeting, we funded police, we funded fire. So those numbers are in here too. That total becomes just under 163 million. We spent just under 78 million, or 47%. Pretty on point. Couple notes, your eyes might look at employee benefits and go, oh my God, Zach just talked about how we were gonna be overspent. It's at 70% spent at this point. But keep in mind that the retirement appropriation and the OPEB appropriation, they are required to be completely 100% funded before 12/31, so it's kind of distorted a little bit. So I ran an exercise, if you backed out 50% there, you're right at kind of everything else. And then one last note, I spoke to Mr. Farrell earlier. It looks like school is like way under at only 40%, but historically for 12/31, like the school year is a little different in how the expenditures happen. Historically, that's like right on the money.
So we just had like I think a fence got knocked down in one of the parks or something like that. Was it a public fence, one of our fences, town fences? It was an accident, anybody?
It's a bike trail.
You recall this?
Oh, at the bike
Bike
trail.
trail.
Yep.
Is that one of ours? The reason why I ask is like, I'm assuming we're self-insured, it's gonna come from an insurance fund.
We are self-insured.
Is that on here? Do we have, like, know what those balances are?
You know what's funny? I was gonna add it on here too. I'm glad you asked. Yeah, I can tell you the balance right now. Yes.
Those are usually subrogated claims, so they'll go after whoever, if someone has insurance, they'll come to them and they'll subrogate the claim.
They will, yeah, so we won't, okay.
But I am glad you asked that question. So we have two insurance funds. One is a liability, so if we're at fault, we pay out of it with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, and our internal town council works on it. That balance right now is $3 million. All right? We also have a municipal building and property, and what you're alluding to, and certainly the biggest example or the most use is definitely police cruisers that get banged up. You know, if it's our fault completely, we make the department pay like a $5,000 deductible. We self-impose it. If it's someone else's fault, we'll fix it, but then a claim will come back, we'll deposit it back to this account, all right? That balance is a little over $4 million. So the two of them, 7.2 million.
That covers the fence.
Should.
well, that covered the light poles.
I saw it, it's not, don't worry about that.
That covered the light poles that people knocked down and all of that.
Yep. Yes. That's a frequent one too, yeah.
I was gonna say, that seems to be
That was a
all
frequent
too
one.
often.
Yes.
there anything else you wanted to add?
Open to questions.
Any questions for our finance folks?
I was going to have Tom give a quick.
Just real quick, as far as the budgeting timeline goes,
Oh, sure, yes.
here we are again. Now, as of right this moment, we're getting ready for auditing next week for FY '25. We're in the midst of FY '26.
Wasn't that like a 2-page letter you gave us last year? What's the letter?
Oh, it's right here. We
Right
got it.
here. I was just going to read through it real quick, because nothing's really changed.
Can you send it to us later?
I will.
Thank
I
you.
will.
I was going to say, does anything change except the year?
No, that's exactly right. So right now, we're into January. Within the next 2 weeks, the leadership meeting is going to take place between the powers to be. And once that gets resolved and you guys discuss, then 1st of February, I have all the budgets locked and loaded, ready to send to department heads. Now, if you'd like, if you give me a listing of the subcommittee chairman, I'll make sure they're on every single one of your responsibility. I'll make sure you're on it, so you see exactly what's being sent to your,
Respective department.
yes, okay? So if you want that, you let me know. You give me that list, and I'll send that out. So, as of right now, the budgets are all locked and loaded, ready to send out, and all I need is the word, and probably the first week of February, they're all gonna go. So they'll have until March 13th, pretty much, give or take a few days. There's always some, I already have a couple already, and some, of course, they're the smaller ones, so they don't need the real elaborate packet, but we'll send them out, and they'll have till March 13th to send them back. So they'll pretty much have close to 6 weeks. And between that time, I would hope the subcommittee are meeting with each one of the departments, and like I said, I'll forward that along to you. And then once that comes in, and then that's when we'll come before you with the full Article 4 proposed budget line items, and you'll decide who to meet with, and that'll pretty much get us into the beginning of May, for May town meeting. So we're right on schedule with everything, there's a lot going on, but I want to be as transparent as possible, and I think it'd probably be an advantage to all the subcommittee heads that I copy you on the packets that are going out, because it will show FY '25 information, FY '26 information, and now proposed information for FY '27. Here we are.
So our budget meetings will be from mid-March to the end of April, and hopefully by the time we get to maybe early March, we can talk a little bit more about what the
Yep.
schedule should look like.
Yep, exactly.
David?
Other than salary and wage increases, what's the directive?
Okay.
Won't have it fully, but likely going to say union obligations and level fund your expenses. If not, come and justify it.
Level fund?
The Personnel Board just met today, right?
Yes.
And Brian confirmed that it
Yes.
was there was 3%
Yep.
as far as salaries and wages go, but
Do we have any preliminary number from the governor?
No, not yet.
When does that
No,
come in?
No, end of this month, hopefully.
End of this month?
Yes, yes, I'm glad you said that. That's like kind of really why.
That's just like a
we're holding-
benchmark to get
Yeah,
going,
100%. Paul and I have been doing work on it, and doesn't look fantastic right now, I'll say that. But we got to see what that state aid, we're making assumptions too,
Yeah.
you know. I will tell you, though, all the unions are negotiated now, so we won't be faced with what we did last year, where you're kind of approving a budget knowing something's coming later. So that's good, you know, but really a little bit of waiting game for that state aid number, and a little bit nervous about it.
Zach, I think you mentioned that the school budget at 41% almost spending year-to-date through 6 months was pretty much on plan
Yeah.
with where they were. Is there some kind of seasonality, big chunks that are in the second half that aren't in the first half typically?
I think it's just because of how the plan year the school year runs, you know, where it's not exactly
Right.
lined up on a June 30th
Okay.
there, you know, that's all. Happy to give you some benchmarks along the way if helpful, some trend
and the
analysis.
school year, there's more months in January, February, March, April, May, as opposed to September, October, November,
Yeah.
December. So you get 2 extra months you're working with on this part of the budget year, so that.
So like over the summer, like people still get paid, but all the programs aren't being run and all that stuff, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. you know, the last item on the agenda is the status of town meeting articles. Zach, if you want to head out, I mean, Tom.
Yeah, I'll probably head up.
Yeah, Tom, you can
Thank
stick
you.
around if you want. and-
No, but listen, I have some extra ones
Thank
here
you,
if you need
Zach.
them.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Those are all pages that you probably got, soft copies. of those.
Does anybody
I'll
need a
take one,
copy?
Andy, just one off the
Sure, sure.
screen, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Anybody over there? You guys good?
Hey, well, you have those two pieces.
I'll take that to mean you want one. Thought Tom said he was staying. Did he say that? Was I dreaming?
I think he said.
So he said no, he said.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, did he?
I think he agreed with you when you said you can leave.
Oh,
And he said
I
yes.
see. You're gonna stay? Yeah, then he's gone. Okay, no problem. I won't take offense. Okay, so this is the last budget item, the subcommittee updates on status of town meeting articles. We had discussed this briefly at the last meeting. This will be sort of an ongoing thing, but I'd like representatives of subcommittees to check in with department heads from time to time on some of these articles that particularly more than a year or two old, to see if there's any money that can be returned to the town. I had circulated the list of the town meeting articles that Paul had given us through 12/31/25, and you'll note the balance on the third page of that document is a little over 9.5 million. That's where that number comes from that Zach was alluding to earlier. The general fund and school articles, he's got it at 9,530. It's a few thousand off on this document, but it's essentially the same. So, now, Bill, did you want to just refresh us on what's happening with the school articles? You mentioned a couple of things at the last meeting.
Right. Myself and Mr. Brown met with Craig Consigli back in November, I think it was, and we went through each of the open articles. And at that time, this was school. He told us, Craig told us that replacing the fire alarm at Stacy, which at that time was 20 grand, and now is 15 grand, is done. He told me that the high school field lighting, which was only 8,000 or so, was done. That's still at around 8,000. The Stacy boiler repair, which was 307,000 at that time, and is now 298,000, is done. And the purchase of the van for 15,000 was probably done. They were just double checking that. That's still the current balance. And the literacy program was probably done, but at that time it was 340,000, and it is now 181,000. So that they're probably done was a little bit optimistic.
Okay, so I mean, that adds up collectively to about 500,000. So, you know, maybe in a couple of months you can just follow up with Tom Brown or, you know,
Right.
whoever, just to see.
Well, they have a couple of budget meetings set, one the 28th and one the 29th. That I intend to bring these things up just as discussion points during that meeting.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Mike, you were going to mention something about library, I think, at the last meeting, and I told you we'd have a separate session on this tonight. So is it?
Yes,
Shoot.
thank you. Yes, library had 3 items on the warrant. One of them was having to do with the elevator system, and the new security system is installed, and came up with a remaining balance of $9,809, which will be returned. The furniture replacement article is still active. The $355,000 fire suppression project is completed and under budget. Part of the funding was to be used for a project manager. The library trustee chair, Stephanie, at the time investigated getting a project manager, and after finding a candidate, town council Brian Murray said one was not necessary. So instead, Stephanie monitored the project with Cogswell Sprinkler, and this is the reason why. As a result, $109,775 will be returned to the general fund from the project. So the total coming back from the library is $119,584. And I believe Tom and Zach are well aware of these numbers at this point.
Thank you, Mike. Al, when you have a capital meeting, you might want to ask library, replace furniture? That's from October of '23. We're 27 months in on a $35,000 furniture article and nothing's expended? Something doesn't
I'll
sound
ask the
right to me.
question.
It'll last longer if you don't buy it.
How urgent was that article if we're 27 months in and nothing's been expended on furniture? I don't know.
Well, that's one of the reasons I asked Brownie, how current are we? Because I see articles here that are from 2021.
Right.
You know, if you look at the first page, town meeting articles, 93, there's 2021, there's Central Street property in 2017.
I mean, unless it's
Those are
on,
those dilapidated buildings that they knocked down, took land, and question mark what else was going to be done.
Yeah, but 9 years later,
Yeah.
I'm just curious to see, why haven't we dealt with it in 8, 9 years?
does anybody else have anything that they wanted to add as far as the status of town meeting articles? If not, we'll just continue to monitor this as we go. But, you know, as Al points out, you know, it looks like there's a couple dozen here that go back 3-4 years. If it's a multi-year construction project, I guess I understand it, but
And some of them are open, like some of them might be Godfrey Brook, where there is always a continuation of it. So money's added to existing projects. So there's different types of projects that could also be like that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but that should be, on this sheet, that should be updated. If we opened up an article in 2021 and we extended it in 2024, the date should be 2024.
There'll be 2 or 3 multiple dates. So if you look at it, there'll be like 3 or 4 dates, and your field is narrow. You only have like 20.
But probably the latest one, if it's 21, 22, and 24, make it 24, so that way we know it's still active.
But even like general government, Jerry, you know, I see replace the sound system from October of '23. It's 2.5 years in, and there's still $45,000 unexpended. Replacing a carpet, nothing's been expended, that's 27 months old. I don't know, it seems like these are worth asking about. Okay, so if there are no other reports, I think that is the end of my agenda items.
Motion to adjourn, please?
Motion to adjourn by David, seconded by Carly, roll call.
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Carly, Warren,
Yes.
Brent,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike Nicholson.
Yes.
Adjourn unanimously. Have a good night, everyone.